Welcome to Baby and Us, a series of short videos to help you feel calm, confident and connected with your new baby. I'm Leah.
And I'm Susanna. And we'll also be joined by some of our amazing parent group leaders who will share real life experiences with their own babies.
So today we'll be talking to you about routines. So just take a moment to think about what a routine is and what your idea of a routine may be. We're using the routine word is a pattern of events or a series of events that you do, I suppose, on a regular basis. So different people have different ways in which they think of a routine. Some people like flexibility in their routine. Some people like to have quite a rigid, specific routine.
So I suppose some people might have, like, say, a nap routine, and they might have a really set time. So the baby naps at like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. Whereas other people might just think, okay, well, baby's going to have a mid-morning nap or a mid-afternoon nap, and that would be the more like flexible approach. Or you might be talking about a really set time period, so like having a bedtime routine.
It's just thinking about what your expectation of a routine is and how you impart that into your day.
So it's not when you're going to do it during the day, but it's the order, which is really important. I always she had the bath, and then she had dinner, and after dinner she had bedtime stories, then the songs, and then she would go to bed. She's so used to it, like, because it's been forever like this. Like now, if I skip the song because we're coming back late from somewhere, she would be complaining and saying, I didn't have my songs, I want my songs.
So we want you to have a think now about what the benefits of a routine might be and what some of the difficulties and challenges of having a routine could be. So take a moment to pause the video and just have a think. It might help to jot a few ideas down. I suppose the biggest benefit of a routine is that it's predictable. So you can plan your day more easily, and having a structure can be really containing for your baby. And it can also be really containing and useful for us as adults as well. So the baby will feel more secure and safe, but also will feel like we know what's going on too. Having it can help with feeding and sleeping, and we can talk a little bit more about that. And it can help when things are unpredictable for any reason. So if you have to go away, or if someone else is looking after the baby for whatever reason, maybe when you're going back to work, if some part of that routine can go with them, then that can make things, those sort of transition times, much more easy. And it can help you to maintain social contact or to stay active. So if you know that your baby's going to have maybe 2 naps a day, say, and there's time in the middle between those when you can get out and about, then that's going to be really helpful for you to be able to plan. That's when you're going and like trying to get out for a walk, for example, or that's going to be a good time to make a particular phone call, something like that.
I had a really good routine with food, sleeping, but then the day was quite flexible. So it meant that I could go and see people if I wanted to. I could go and do other things, do your shopping. But once I knew that either one of my son or my daughter was fed at a specific time, it felt a lot more relaxed. But then I had times when it was more specific and it caused problems, because then if I wanted to do something, I couldn't, because then it was bedtime or it was bath time. In terms of the challenges, it's very difficult sometimes, because if you are the type of person before having a baby who's very flexible and just gets up and go, it can be very difficult to impart that into a routine, because when you want to do something and the baby doesn't necessarily fit into that routine, that's when it becomes more difficult. Or if it's too rigid. So if you know that you feed your baby at a specific time, which I used to do that, I would feed at a specific time. So then if I happen to go shopping or went somewhere else, then I had a problem, because obviously then you've got a crying baby. So it can be challenging with both, I guess, with both a rigid routine and with a flexible routine.
Babies grow and they change. And so what works at one point in time won't necessarily work as the baby gets older. So you might find a really good routine that works for both of you, and then all of a sudden things change. Or the other thing is that the same routine won't work for two different children. So if you've had a second child and you're expecting them to be just like your first, then that might not work out either. And the other thing is it takes a bit of time to work out what's going to work for both of you. So there's a bit of trial and error involved, and that can be a bit stressful. The moment you feel like you're comfortable, you feel like you know what you're doing, your baby will change and just pull that rug from under you.
100%. Yeah.
It's funny now.
Yeah, it's not funny at the time. Just when you've got it and you think, right, this is what's happening, I'm going to feed you and then I'm going shopping. No, it all changes completely. You think, but 2 weeks ago that was fine. Why did that happen? So yeah, I'm totally with you there.
Yeah.
Can have a structure that will sort of guide the day, but I feel that if I make that rigid, then I'm going to go wrong in two ways. I'm going to get excess mum guilt when life happens and my husband's on different shifts, or things crop up, your car breaks or whatever, and you can't fit to that structure. So I like to have some flexibility in it. And, if I didn't get my child to have a nap at that particular time, then I'm responsive and I know that they're going to be tired and I know how to deal with the repercussions of that. And the other way that you can go wrong with having a rigid routine is that obviously things happen to your child. So they might be teething, they might be ill. And again, then you can't fit them into that box. So routines, I think, are very important to have structure and to have an awareness of what your child might need when. But I think you also have to have some confidence in yourself that if you don't stick to that, then you're not a failure. You've not messed up your child. You can just kind of respond to the cues and get them back on track.
I had to have a routine with the twins right from the word go. From when we came out from hospital with them, they were both quite small and they had to be fed really very regularly. I couldn't do demand feeding. I did breastfeed them for 6 weeks, but I had to supplement as well because I just couldn't produce enough milk for the two of them. Initially, when we started, they were both feeding at different times. So I really felt as if 24 hours a day, I did nothing but feed. And so I was able, they were very amenable, really. I was able to get them into a routine, and we had to have kind of the 4-hour routine where breastfeed them, supplement feed them, change the nappy, kind of make them comfortable, and then they go back to sleep, or they might be awake for a little while. We tried to keep them, we had to, with 2 babies, we had to try and keep them into some kind of routine.
For me, it was very useful to devise some baby routine with my husband. For example, remember that he bathed him, and this is a very good time for them because they can connect, and for me too because I could rest and manage some time and space for myself.
So we're now going to talk a bit about feeding. So to start with, just to get you thinking about this, we want you to take a moment to reflect on how you feel about feeding your baby. And to help with this, try to think back to before your baby was born. Did you have any expectations about how you would feed your baby? And were you able to feed your baby as you had planned to feed them? Did you feel supported in feeding your baby that way? So just take a moment and pause to reflect on that.
So I wanted to breastfeed both my children, and I have to say with my toddler, he had an elective section because he was breech. He came out in the Beast from the East. It was so cold. He didn't really properly get the skin to skin because, you know, they had to keep him wrapped up. I remember getting quite down about that because you feel like it's your mum's job to give nutrition to your baby. But it was wonderful because I got such support from the infant feeding team. And at one point it was taking quite kind of like 3 of us to breastfeed him. So it was taking me 2 hands to hold him. It was taking my husband to hold both his hands down so he didn't thrash around. And it took the midwife to stand at the side and to check his latch, or a family member. But we did get him breastfeeding.
I think that the mums that are formula fed have felt just as maybe let down or unsupported as some of the breastfeeding mums have. So that's kind of my experience of other mums that have expressed their concerns and expressed how they've been made to feel.
Yeah. And I think it really brings me back to the pressure that we put on ourselves as parents, and the pressure that we put on, that society puts on us as well, and those different expectations. And like you said, Leah, you know, if you're successfully feeding your baby, that is the most important thing. If your baby's getting fed, and that you feel supported in doing that, it's really important that you feel like you're able to make the right decision for you and your baby. And that's respected.
Next, we want to think about your baby's feeding. Thinking about when your baby's hungry. How do you know when your baby's hungry? What cues are they expressing to you? And do you have any feeding routines?
Once she got a bit bigger, she got really distractible. And so if I was trying to feed her and there was anything else going on, she would just not be able to concentrate on feeding and would be kind of pulling away. And I was breastfeeding, so she'd pull away, and it was quite painful. But also just it felt like she wasn't getting a full enough feed. And I realised that when she first woke up, she was still quite drowsy, and that was the best time to feed her. So I would feed her when she first woke up, when the room was still dark, where there were no distractions around, and then she would feed for a kind of a good amount of time. And so that actually kind of determined a routine for us.
I remember that before my second child was born, I had the idea of repeating the same baby feeding routine that I had with my first son. But she came and she said, "Surprise, I want to feed all day." In the beginning, I had no problem with that, but then I had to work harder to achieve the new routine.
So we've talked a bit about routines, and what we'd like you to do is to try giving it a go and putting your own routine in place if you haven't got one already. So think about what kind of routine you'd like to establish, and have a think about the following things. So what effect does the routine have on your baby? Try to notice how you and your partner feel about the routine. Is it helpful? Does it feel easy to establish? How easy or difficult was it to put the routine in place? Were there things that got in the way, and how could you overcome these? I hope this has been useful. Thanks for watching.